Coral Reef Condition Report 2024-25, Impacts of Mass Bleaching and Cyclones. Coral reefs are often called the rainforests of the sea. But what happens when these vibrant ecosystems face repeated catastrophic blows? The Great Barrier Reef, GBR, one of Earth's most iconic natural wonders, has just released its annual summary report for 2024-25, and the findings paint a sobering picture. Between mass coral bleaching events and the battering impacts of cyclones, the reef's health has declined significantly, bringing coral cover to near long-term averages. This report dives into the details, and here's why it matters more than ever. The Long-Term Monitoring Program, LTMP, conducted an extensive survey of 124 reefs across the northern, central, and southern GBR between August 2024 and May 2025. These surveys revealed that the mass coral bleaching event in 2024 was the fifth such event since 2016. And part of a larger global crisis declared by NOAA and the International Coral Reef Initiative. But here's where it gets alarming. This event had the largest spatial footprint ever recorded on the GBR, with high to extreme bleaching observed across all three regions. To grasp the full impact of the 2024 bleaching, researchers carried out both targeted in-water surveys and manta-tow surveys. What they found was devastating: substantial coral mortality directly tied to the severity of bleaching, especially when over 30% of coral cover was affected. Among the hardest hit were fast-growing Apropora corals, which had been instrumental in the rapid recovery seen from 2017 to 2024. These corals, once resilient contributors to reef regeneration, now bear the brunt of climate-induced stress. But bleaching wasn't the only threat in 2024. Cyclones, flooding, and outbreaks of crown-of-thorns starfish added further strain to the already fragile ecosystem. However, the mass bleaching event emerged as the dominant cause of coral mortality. By 2025, hard coral cover had plummeted across the GBR, with regional declines ranging from 14% to 30%. Some individual reefs experienced staggering losses of up to 70.8%, largely attributed to the cumulative effects of bleaching and other environmental stressors. Of the reefs surveyed, 48% saw a decline in coral cover, while 42% showed no significant change, and only 10% experienced growth. Interestingly, those reefs with stable or increasing coral cover were mostly located in the central GBR. On a broader scale, the data shows that most reefs still retain coral cover between 10% and 30%, though the distribution varies widely. Just 2 reefs had less than 10% coral cover, while another 2 boasted over 75%. Let's break it down regionally. In the northern GBR, average hard coral cover dropped sharply from 39.8% in 2024 to 30.0% in 2025, a staggering 24.8% decline, marking the largest annual drop ever recorded for this area. Despite this, coral cover remains slightly above the long-term average. In the central GBR, coral cover fell to 28.6% from a peak of 33.2% in 2024, representing a 13.9% decline. Meanwhile, the southern GBR suffered the most dramatic loss, plunging from 38.9% to 26.9%, a 30.6% drop that pushed coral cover below the long-term average for the first time. And this is the part most people miss. Even amidst these challenges, crown-of-thorns starfish remain a persistent threat. In 2025, they were detected on 27 surveyed reefs. One reef in the southern GBR faces a severe outbreak, while others in the southern and northern regions experience established infestations. These starfish, voracious predators of coral, compound the damage caused by bleaching and storms, adding insult to injury. Above-average water temperatures returned in the summer of 2025, triggering yet another mass bleaching event, the sixth since 2016. While this latest event primarily impacted the northern GBR and parts of northwest Australia, its full toll will only become clear in next year's report. Aerial surveys conducted in March 2025 confirmed medium to high bleaching prevalence on 41% of surveyed reefs, though offshore reefs fared better, with low to no bleaching observed in many areas. These results underscore a grim reality. The GBR is under relentless pressure. Recent gains in coral cover have been erased, reversing years of recovery. And yet, compared to places like the Caribbean, where reefs have been nearly decimated, the GBR fares relatively better due to its vast size, diversity of habitats, and pre-bleaching coral abundance. Still, the frequency of mass bleaching events continues to rise globally, leaving little time for reefs to recover. So, what does this mean for the future of coral reefs? Can we strike a balance between conservation efforts and the escalating impacts of climate change? Or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for these underwater marvels? Share your thoughts in the comments. Are you hopeful, or do you think it's too late to turn the tide? Great Barrier Reef Crisis, Record Coral Loss, Bleaching Disaster, 2024. Imagine a world where one of the most breathtaking natural wonders is slowly fading away. The Great Barrier Reef, a marvel of biodiversity and beauty, has just experienced its most devastating annual drop in live coral since the 1980s. This alarming decline, documented in a new report by the Australian Institute of Marine Science, AIMS, highlights the severe impacts of the 2024 mass coral bleaching event, the most widespread and severe on record. The reef, which stretches over 2,300 kilometers, has been a beacon of marine life for centuries. But recent events have turned parts of it into what scientists describe as a graveyard of corals. Around Lizard Island in the north and One Tree Island in the south, the devastation is stark. Up to 40% of corals have perished. These areas, once vibrant with life, are now haunting reminders of what we stand to lose. AIMS has been. Great Barrier Reef endures record coral decline due to mass bleaching. The Great Barrier Reef, one of the world's most iconic natural wonders, is in crisis. Last year, it suffered its most devastating coral decline in nearly 4 decades, with 2 out of 3 monitored regions losing a staggering amount of coral cover due to climate change-driven heat stress. This isn't just a statistic. It's a stark reminder of the fragile balance of our planet's ecosystems. But here's where it gets even more alarming. This decline comes despite the reef's recent recovery efforts, highlighting just how vulnerable it is to rising temperatures. In the northern region, stretching from Cape York to Cooktown, coral cover plummeted by a quarter, dropping from 39.8% to 30%. The central region, spanning from Cooktown to Proserpine, saw a decline from 33.2% to 28.6%. And in the southern region, extending to Gladstone, the loss was even more dramatic, falling by nearly a third from 38.9% to 26.9%. These figures, released in the latest report by the Australian Institute of Marine Science, AIMS, paint a grim picture of an ecosystem under siege. Dr. Mike Emsley, who leads AIMS's long-term monitoring project, notes that while the reef had relatively high coral coverage before the 2024 marine heatwave, this only partially softened the blow. This year's record losses came off a high base thanks to recent recovery efforts, he explained. But the real concern? The increasing volatility in